Hello, and welcome to episode 31 of What If Civilization Started Over. If you missed the last one, we saw the French Revolution, which actually didn't really see that much changing, except that Spain is gone. But definitely go watch that if you didn't see it. But for now, let's get right into the next one, which is episode 31. And we're going to do a little bit of stuff in East Asia today. So the year right now is 1820, and this episode is going to go until 1850, I think. And this episode is going to go to 1840. Because I'm just, So this is going to cover 20 years of history. And we're going to start with the end of the Vietnamese Union. 3 countries will conspire to lead to their downfall. One of those is Indonesia, which is basically just an English puppet at this point. One of those is France, who's invading from the west. And one of those countries is China, who is trying to get strong enough to stand up to the Europeans, despite looking already like they're a Belgian puppet. But these 3 countries will they're all invading into Vietnam, but they're all want to be like the one to reach the Vietnamese capital first, and England is the one who actually does that, so they get the prestige. France never really expected to do that. They were kind of racing for these 3 cities. England will get the southernmost one, but the others will go to the French. And China will end up getting a lot of the land that no one cared about, because no one cared about it, but China wants to just look big on a map. Like, that's legitimately what China wants to do. So in the peace treaty, well, that's actually going to be reflected, as China will be given a lot of useless land, while England and France will take the lands that actually had people living in there. Something they didn't expect is that China was actually planning to build 2 new cities, and these were like towns that were on the verge of becoming cities that are now just actual cities because China made them into cities in their new territory. Actually 3. So it's not as sparsely populated as England and France thought it would be, and I keep calling them England, technically they're Indonesia, but there's not really a difference there, so yeah. That's another country gone, and it's going to keep going like that as Japan. And this was during the French Revolution episode, which only lasted about 20 years, the same as this episode. But Japan, like this episode also covers stuff from the last episode, so whatever. Anyway, Japan launches an invasion of this Shandong country, I think I called them, even though they're not in the Shandong Peninsula. Their capital will then be seized by Belgium, after which they will surrender specifically to Belgium because Belgium is being nicer to its colonies than Japan is. However, Belgium had already made a secret deal with Japan to give them this land, as Belgium and Japan are seen to be working closely together, and England is trying to make it look like, oh, Belgium is so embarrassing, they have to work with an Asian power in order to defeat China, trying to frame it, but Belgium is actually just getting way stronger because of this, and they are in an alliance with England, so it's not that crazy. And actually something that happens is that Belgium and England are quite powerful, and they add Italy to their alliance, and that's going to scare these 2 guys enough that they're going to put aside their differences, and they're going to create the Lime Green Alliance. Immediately joining that will be the Moroccan puppet, obviously, and we actually have to go over here because England is going to score a major victory, getting Venezuela to join their alliance. And we're going to go back to the Americas later because the major event of the episode is going to be there. But first, Andalusia has one more cleanup duty to do, as they will quickly invade and mostly take over this pink country. However, the pink country will sue for peace as long as they get to keep some of their land. And Andalusia will surprisingly accept this. And what these guys are going to do is the king will step down and officially... So his country is a democracy now, but he will join, obviously, and you can probably have guessed this, the African Alliance, I'm just going to call it at this point, because it's pretty much every African country. The African countries that aren't in the African Alliance are extremely weak, and that's going to be shown by France basically telling this country, hey, you can join us, or you can give us some territory, or you can be invaded by us, and they're like, sure, we'll just give you some territory. And that causes England to do the same thing, and these guys have just gotten a ridiculous amount weaker without doing anything. So it kind of shows how beneficial the Democratic Alliance is. A few more things to do in the old world, and then we're going to do the main event. Russia, it seems, just cannot stop electing dictators, as they elect another dictator who immediately scraps the constitution. And once again, basically says that the Russian Empire is going to be restored as he begins his grand invasion of Siberia. But actually, he doesn't invade them that much, and he stops and he says, hey, you want to sue for peace? And they're like, sure. And Siberia doesn't understand why. They didn't really think of this land as too valuable to them, so they're fine with giving up this land. Siberia is just not as forward-thinking as Russia is. And then Poland collapses. So Russia is managing to expand without actually doing anything. They want to invade into Estonia, but they think that Estonia will get protection from Scandinavia and Denmark, so they won't want to do that yet. Also, Poland collapses. This new Russian land to the east didn't really want to be part of Poland. And the entire Polish government just collapses, with a distant relative of the king being alive in the west, but two new states forming in the east. This state over here will be Russia aligned, but they will have a monarchy instead of a dictatorship. And over here, it's more simple. It's just a democratic movement breaking away from Poland. And we got to give some new capitals to these things. Also, I feel like there should be more cities. Yeah, there's more cities in that region. And their capitals will be here, because this is a Russia country, and then here, because these guys are mostly Croatian-inspired. Time for the main event of this episode, which is going to take place in the Americas, as Brazil basically announces that the liberation of the Americas is here. I have to make them darker. I think they were darker. Anyway, they start a massive invasion into the Andalusian colony, and Andalusia's not been getting that very much weaker, but the Andalusian people of the colonies don't really like being part of Andalusia anymore. England directs Venezuela to do their own invasion into this colony, as the rest of the colony will rebel, and Andalusia will have to bring troops from their North American colony to deal with it as they start making landings over here. However, things are not going well. Brazil refuses to leave the occupied territory over here, but they stop advancing further, while Venezuela, at the direction of England, will continue to advance. And I think this is the same color. The newly independent country is not doing too well, but they are able to keep their stuff together a little bit. And they managed to sign peace with Venezuela. They have to cede one of their 4 cities, so it's not great, but the upside is that Venezuela is not fighting them, and with this, Andalusia has no chance of holding this colony, as the Galapagos also fall. And these guys will start something interesting, as they, along with Venezuela, but Venezuela is just helping them. And England didn't want Venezuela to do this, but Venezuela is doing it anyway, which makes England mad, but they can't do anything. These guys will start invading up through Central America, inspiring riots. And I'm going to keep these guys as one color, and they're going to dissolve after. But this movement is very popular, and Andalusia can do nothing to stop it, as their entire Caribbean colony will join the rebellion. And the rebellion will move upwards as the American country starts supporting this rebellion, as well as just moving their own troops in here, because at the end of the day, they kind of want it. And in fact, the American country will do something kind of immoral, as they will buy a large amount of land from Andalusia, knowing that Andalusia knows they're not going to keep control of it, allowing the rest to fall into the hands of the rebels. And with this, Andalusia's lost their entire American colonies. Brazil will take their share, and this colony will immediately collapse, as I already said. And the original country that formed and then broke apart was a constitutional monarchy, inspired by Belgium specifically. So all of these countries are constitutional monarchies. But yeah, as you can see, there's a huge new spectrum of countries across the Americas, which will be fun to talk about next time, which is when I will see you because this is the end of the episode. So thank you for watching. Bye.